Welcome to another episode of Transform Perspective with Kyra. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am here to guide and encourage others to have a transformed perspective as we evolve on this journey called life. Everybody's life is uniquely theirs, and everybody has different paths, yet we all are evolving. We all are growing. We all are learning and becoming more aware of life, of who we are, and just awareness in general. And from there, we take steps and go on our journey and our paths, and that looks different for everybody. So it's just really cool. And I like sharing my experiences as I learn and grow, and, holding a safe space for other people to share their experiences and for us to connect. I just want to put that in there as just like, a little summary of what this channel is about. Thank you so much for showing up today and listening to this podcast. If I could ask you one question, that would be, what is life supposed to look like? How would you answer that? That's actually a great question to write down and journal and reflect on. But I just wanted to ask that question, what is life supposed to look like? Because it got me thinking about expectations and judgment of life and how it's supposed to go. That question right there has the word supposed to, and it's very heavy, and very, dense. There's so much expectation and judgment behind supposed when we're looking at that question. What is life supposed to look like? Because like I was saying earlier, we all have our own journeys and life paths, and we're doing it together. Yet everybody's way of life, what they learn in life, what they do, and who they are and who they're becoming is different. So supposed doesn't really, it doesn't really work when it comes to looking at life, when it comes to looking at our individual journeys. What is life supposed to look like? There's not really a specific way it's supposed to look like. But when you look at, however you answer that question, when you look at that answer, it's where did that answer come from? And how do you feel about it now? What made you answer it the way that you did? So if you have the time, write that down, reflect on it, and just see what your answer is. There's no right or wrong answer, but for me personally, my answer to that question, I've realized, is that there is no supposed to when it comes to how life is going to go and how it pans out for each person. It's different. So I would take away the supposed to and, just look at what life has for you specifically, because it varies depending on the person. But I think something that is going to be helpful in my life and maybe in yours is taking away the expectations. Now, I've known this for a while that, in my life personally, I put a lot of heavy expectations on people, on things, on my goals and ambitions. And it's great to be motivated and, really be passionate and want a lot out of life. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes those expectations and judgments can cause blocks and kind of get in the way of you actually experiencing what's on your heart and what's in your soul and what you really want at your core. So sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves, and for many different reasons, we have high expectations or low expectations or judgment about ourselves, about other people, and about life, and where that comes from, the root of that is different for everybody as well. But to take away the expectations just in general in your life about yourself, about your future, about other people, about the world, about just everything that exists. When you take the expectations away, it just sounds like that would be so freeing, that would lead you to freedom by taking away that expectation, by taking away the rules, by taking away the judgment. And now we need structure and order to a certain extent. But personally, if you're looking at your life, it's why don't you allow it to just unfold by itself? Why don't you just allow life to guide you, allow the universe to guide you, allow God to guide you, allow yourself to be guided and shown what's best for you. Because sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we have an idea or we think we know, and sometimes we don't know at all. So it's like, why not just surrender that and just see what life has for you? Instead of saying, this is how life is supposed to go, ask the question, what does life have for me? You know, what is my best version of myself and best version of my life look like? And allow life to show you that. Allow it to just unfold and happen for you. It's just food for thought. Like, what would that be like if you just took a step back, took away the expectation, took away the judgment? What would happen in your life? What would happen within yourself, if you just took your hand off some? And it's scary too sometimes to those patterns within you that just want so much control. They strive for, control, for it to go a certain way, for it to look a certain way, for you to be a certain way, for other people to show up in your life and be a certain way. It's just all this judgment, all this expectation. But it's like, where's the fun in that? Where's the freedom in that? Where's the play in that? Like, life is a playground. We got to have some fun and play. Like, there's some very serious things, and there's a time to be serious and there's a time to play. But you can't forget about the play totally, like I've said in the past, like, you're here, you're in this body, this life, this one time, regardless of your belief or your outlook on life or what you think happens after this or what you think happened before this, you're here now. And so it's like, this is your time, this is your chance to just explore, to allow the mystery of life to unfold in the way that it's meant for you. And you can't really get in the way of that. I mean, I feel like in some ways you can, but to a certain extent, I feel like it's going to happen the way it happens. And you either accept it or you don't. And it sounds a lot easier to just like say it. But when you have these certain patterns within yourself that kind of get in the way of you embodying this freedom, embodying this flow, and trust in your life, it can be, it could be tricky sometimes. So of course it takes steps, it takes practice, it takes releasing things that no longer serve you, old stuff, pulling back the layers. It takes receiving new stuff and, what's better for you and maturing. It's a process, but it's possible. And it just got me thinking like, okay, I had this mindset that was very scarce and lack and heavy, judgmental, all this expectation. What if I kind of step back some? Like, what if I allowed myself to explore and play more and just see what life has for me without expecting anything from it? Like what could happen? Like, what would I be? Who would I be? What would my life look like? Who would I become? It's just, I just started to dig a little deeper when I was looking at like, what is life supposed to look like? Especially when you're in your 20s or when you're a teenager and you're in school and you're looking at, okay, do I want to go to college? Or do I want to go to trade school? Do I want to do hair? Like, what do I want to do with my career? Because we go to school and it kind of trains us up and programs us to just be workers and go out and work. But there's so many possibilities. And yes, those possibilities are those options that I've listed, college, trade school, hair, or starting your own business. Like, those are all great options, but it's just so much more and it's continuing to grow and expand. So like, even if you're in your teens, this is a good question to ask yourself. Even if you're in your 20s, for me personally, I feel like it's just been a weird time because you're just like, what is life about? Like, what is life supposed to look like? Same thing for your 30s and 40s. I feel like it's a question you can ask yourself at any time and any point in your life. And it's forever, like, your answer to that is forever changing, because it's different for everybody. And everybody has had different experiences. Some people have been going through awakening, spiritual awakenings, or just like their mind is changing, the world is changing. And so it's just nice sometimes to just take a step back and just kind of question yourself, question your mindset, question your beliefs, your values sometimes. It could be tricky. It could be scary sometimes, but really it's very simple. It's just scary to the ego and the part of you, those patterns that have a hard time letting go of what it's used to, letting go of the control, letting go of the expectation and the judgment, because it wants to know, it wants to feel some type of safety and security. But when you're going about it, um, in the way of like heavy expectations and judgment, it could take a toll on you mentally. It could cause a lot of stress and depression and anxiety. It could take a toll on your spiritual well being and your connection within yourself, to other people, and your relationships. It can just take a toll on a lot in your life. And so sometimes you do, have to sit back and kind of question yourself, question your mindset and beliefs and everything, like I said. Um, But yeah, I feel like those patterns are coming from a place of love deep down, just trying to protect you. But sometimes they become outdated. Your mindset, your beliefs, your way that you approach life or yourself or other people, the ways that you show up, it becomes outdated sometimes. And so it's like, um, question that. And how can I go about that differently? Or how can I look at it in a new way? Or even if your answer doesn't change, that's okay, but at least you questioned it. At least you kind of like assessed yourself in your life. So I don't know, that invites more awareness in your life. That invites more of, a transformed perspective, might I say. um but yeah, just taking your hand off and less control. Because I think, that for me personally, that pattern of expectation and judgment and control, it that pattern just wants to be free. Like it just wants to know that it's taken care of, that it's loved, that it can just like relax and be okay, and that you know, it can just chill, it can just breathe. And I feel like so many of us humans on this planet feel that same way deep down. We just all have a different way of expressing it. And it manifests in different ways. It comes to life in different ways, in form of patterns, in form of trauma, in form of, how we interact with each other, how we treat ourselves, and how we show up in life. It looks different for everybody, but I think everybody really just wants to be loved. Everybody wants to feel safe and feel secure and feel successful and worthy and enough. And I think those patterns show up in ways of, trying to control and trying to just make sure you're safe. How somebody's like, I keep saying, so many times, but for example, like when you ever have, like, I guess people in your life or someone in your life that just like, they show up in just really odd ways. Or like if you're arguing with somebody and like you get down to the bottom of it and you realize that they just really care about you. Like they're not trying to like harm you or hurt you. Some people are, don't get me wrong. Some people are trying to be manipulative, um, hurt you. They don't have good intentions for you. But sometimes in this example that I'm using, those people that maybe they said something and it came out wrong, but they are really just trying to express themselves and their love for you or their care for you, but just sometimes it's like miscommunication or you just misunderstand each other. I'm using that as an example because that's kind of like how some of the patterns are within ourselves, the patterns that we create to protect ourselves or protect our inner child. It just wants to be loved and safe and protected, and it just wants to protect us and love us. It just has a weird way of showing it. That's what I'm trying to say, you know? I'm just using an example of other people because sometimes we have friends, family, relationships, whatever the case may be. And you may be able to like reflect and think back on, oh my goodness, like that person was just trying to like look out for me. You may have a coworker or somebody, they may have like done something that came off really like wrong or weird. And they was just trying to like, look out for you or something. And I feel like that's how the patterns are within us sometimes. They just want to protect us and look out for us and love us. They just have a weird way of showing it. And I say the pattern um, because, not identifying with the pattern. Because those patterns, the trauma, your habits and things that you do are not you. They're things that you do, they're things that you experience, they're things that come up within you. It's part of this, human experience, part of being here. But that's not all that you are. But it's part of your experience. So being able to look at those patterns, regardless of what they are, and question them and maybe approach them in a different way. It wouldn't hurt to try, but that's something I've been doing recently, especially with expectations and judgment. Because, like, how freeing would it be to just allow things to just come together and step out of your own way? Because, I mean, isn't it working out regardless of what you are trying to do? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like free will comes in and then it gets really complicated. But I feel like everything is always working out for you and you are exactly where you're meant to be. It doesn't always feel that way, but I guess if, in this process of taking away expectations, allowing the judgment to, take a seat, you can just remind yourself of that you're exactly where you're meant to be. And that doesn't mean that you don't have goals and ambitions and you don't set boundaries for yourself and in your life. Definitely, you can still have that in your life, but, it's finding that balance, like I say in everything, finding that balance and not being too willy-nilly and all over the place and not having goals and ambitions and, being creative and envisioning life for yourself, but also just allowing it to happen naturally too. So it's not so much control and suffocation over yourself or your life and the decisions you make, but it's also not holding yourself accountable. It's not saying don't hold yourself accountable, but it's also not saying don't suffocate yourself, with perfection or trying to have things go a certain way. It's like find that balance. And I feel like a step for me personally in finding that balance in my life is taking away the expectation and just seeing what happens. And it could, you can start small with that. Like I always say in your day-to-day life, I make so many videos of just things that you can do daily in your life to practice letting go of those expectations or taking it away. I like to say taking it away because letting go, it used to be very hard for me to understand the idea of letting something go. It just made me hold on tighter. So for me personally, when I say take away the expectations, it's like I'm taking it and I'm letting it, it's taking a seat. I'm putting it back here and trying something new. So just trying that, even if it's small, like, and each day, get the things you need to get done. Do, the tasks and things that you need to complete. Handle your business, but also just see how your day goes. When we wake up and we're just like already in this negative mood or just, it happens. But you don't have to put that expectation that your day is just ruined and you're going to have a bad day just because it started off rough. An example of practicing this in your day-to-day life is, yeah, maybe it started off rough, but just have an open mind, have an open heart, and just kind of hold space for what the day has. Don't just assume automatically that it's ruined because you spilled your coffee on yourself and you were late to work. Like, that was just the beginning of your day. That doesn't mean that the rest of your day is ruined, they're going to go bad, or that, every day is horrible. You kind of put that judgment and expectation on it because of the things you experience. So like in your day-to-day life, you can practice that, maybe your day started off rough. Keep an open heart, keep an open mind and say, okay, well, we'll see what happens from here. Or, let's just go about it one thing at a time and see what happens, just stay open to what can happen. And you can start by doing it daily and then try it when it comes to your life. What does life have for me? Jeez. What is best for me? What is highest for me? And just see how that unfolds. It's an adventure. It's a journey. It's a mystery, and everybody has a different map on their adventure. Everybody has a different blueprint. in their life. And so, kind of embracing the mystery of life can be a pathway to freedom, you know? True freedom, true happiness. That's what my shirt says. My shirt says, happiness is a state of mind. Very true. Um, and so it starts in here, in your mind, in your heart, internally, in your inner world. And, it can happen in your outer world, but it starts within first. So, yeah, I'm going to be practicing that. I just wanted to, I don't know, ask that question and share that because it was mind blowing for me to just kind of question myself of how life is supposed to look because I realized that there's so many expectations and judgments that I had of what life is supposed to look like, and it's not exactly going the way that I planned. Does that mean that life is horrible and my existence here is doomed? No, it just means that, maybe I could go about looking at it differently. Maybe I could take some judgment and expectations away and just, you know, see what life has for me rather than telling life this is what I want, give it to me, or this is horrible. Like, just see what happens. Just see what happens. And look at life as a journey, as an adventure with no destination. I feel like when you take the expectations and the judgment away, you take away the destination because you don't know where you're going to go. You're just on a journey with no X in the sand. Of course, you have rewards and beautiful things and great experiences along the way, but I think you can welcome a lot more happiness, peace, and joy in your life when you stop looking for the X. When you stop looking for the X in the sand or the treasure chest, and you realize that the journey, the walk, the path that you're on right now is the treasure. You're not looking for like an end point, because I feel like you focus your energy and attention on that end point and you miss the whole journey. I mean, technically you don't miss it because you're on it, but like mentally you miss it. And it's like, yeah. So I can spiral on into a whole bunch of other stuff, but you don't have to look for the X that marks the spot. You'll be guided to, wherever you need to be guided to. But I feel like there's the treasure as part of the journey and each step you take. Yeah. I feel like as I talk on and on, I'm like, does this even make sense anymore? But it does. It does for me, and I hope it does for you. If it doesn't, that's okay. If it doesn't resonate, that's fine. I just wanted to share this and let you know that it's okay to take away those expectations and those judgments and just let loose a little bit, explore, be curious about life, no matter what age you're at, no matter where you are in life. Every breath is a fresh start, Every day is a new day, and you can treat it as so. And that doesn't mean that you let go of your responsibilities and you don't have goals and ambitions and you don't set boundaries. That doesn't mean that. It just means that you shift your mindset, test it out, and see what that does for your health. See what that does for your mental health, your spiritual well-being, your relationships, your career, your finances. Just see what it does. You went your whole life with a certain mindset that isn't serving you anymore, or maybe isn't serving you. So why not try something else and just be open to what life has? Be open to what that mindset can do for yourself, for your life, for your loved ones, and for your goals and ambitions, So, yeah, that's all I got for today's episode. I hope that you're doing well, you're healthy. And like I said, thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to check out that. I forgot what I was saying. As I said, don't forget, I forgot. But don't forget to check out. Cut. Here we go. Don't forget to check out that free 15-minute guided meditation for relaxation and unwinding. It is in the description below. Click the link and it'll be sent to your email. You'll be added to my email list, but don't worry, I will not blow up your email. It'll just be updates for Transform Perspective and any other freebies. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, watch some of my other videos, comment below. It's a safe space, and just let me know what you think about this topic, this episode, and anything else that you want to share. Thank you so much for tuning in to Transform Perspective. And remember, it is not about perfection, but committing to expansion. Have a transformed perspective.